Genesis 12 is the covenant that God made with Abraham that has controlled the destiny of nations from the day of Egypt until this day.
For many years, Pastor John Hagee has been one of the most well-known figures in evangelical Christianity. His sermons reach millions, and his voice on Israel and faith issues is heard around the world. But behind his confident image and powerful preaching, there have always been rumors and questions about him.
Jerusalem is the city where Jesus Christ himself rode in on a young donkey and introduced himself as the Messiah of the world.
Now, at 85, Hagee has finally spoken out. In a rare and honest interview, he admits what many people have suspected for a long time. Are you ready to hear the truth? Join us in this video as we reveal the details. Pastor John Hagee finally admits what we all suspected. John Hagee has, for many years, been known as a very strong and very bold voice, not just inside the church, but also far outside of it. He did not just preach simple messages. Instead, he often spoke with deep confidence, and he spoke in a way that made it seem like he had clear answers to very serious questions. Over time, this strong way of speaking made many people respect him, but at the same time, it also caused many people to disagree with him in very strong ways. One of the biggest reasons for this attention was the way he explained world events using the Bible. He often connected things happening in the world to prophecy, and he spoke about these ideas with full confidence. In his book, Jerusalem Countdown, he warned about a possible future conflict involving Iran. He explained it as something already written in scripture. For his followers, this felt powerful and meaningful. They believed he was helping them understand the future, but for others, it felt different. Some people felt that these words created fear. Others believed that such strong claims could lead to more tension, especially between different religions and nations. Then, as time went on, more moments came that added to the tension around his name. In 2008, he made a statement about the Holocaust that caused a lot of pain and anger. He spoke about it in a way that suggested it had a place in God's plan connected to Israel. Even though he may have been trying to explain something about faith and history, many people felt deeply hurt. They believed that such a statement reduced the suffering of millions of people. Because of this, his image became more complicated, and some relationships he had built over the years became strained. At the same time, his firm beliefs on social issues also placed him in the middle of serious public debates. He openly spoke against same-sex marriage. He rejected LGBTQ+ rights. He also strongly opposed abortion. These positions made him stand out even more, especially in a world that was changing quickly. For his supporters, this made him look brave. They saw him as someone who refused to bend, but for critics, it made him seem out of touch. It created a clear divide between those who agreed with him and those who did not. However, behind all of this public attention and strong opinions, there was another side of his life that many people did not see clearly. That side was filled with personal struggles and quiet battles. One of the most difficult moments came in 1975 when his marriage ended in divorce. In the kind of community he was part of, this was not just a private matter. It became a public issue. People questioned him, they doubted him, some even turned away from him. It was a time filled with pressure, disappointment, and deep emotional pain. The effect of this period was very serious. His ministry almost fell apart. Trust was shaken. People wondered if he could continue leading. It was not just about his work anymore. It became about his identity and his place in the church. But even with all of that, he did not walk away. He stayed. Slowly and step by step, he began to rebuild his life. Later, he remarried, and this brought him stability and support. It gave him a sense of strength again. But even as things improved on the outside, the pressure of leadership did not go away. In fact, it grew even more. Leading a large church meant carrying a heavy responsibility. People expected him to always be strong. They expected him to always have answers. They expected him to never show weakness. But inside, things were not always that simple. There were moments of doubt. There were times when the weight of everything felt too much. Even though he stood in front of people with confidence, there were private moments where he struggled. These experiences slowly began to shape him in a different way. Over time, he started to see these struggles differently. Instead of seeing them as failures, he began to see them as lessons. They taught him patience, they taught him humility, they helped him understand that faith is not always about being certain. Sometimes it is about continuing even when things are unclear. These personal battles, though painful, became part of a deeper journey that would later lead to an important change in how he saw faith itself. Because over time, something shifted within him. His message began to carry more weight, not just in words, but in experience. He no longer spoke only from confidence, but from endurance, and people could feel that difference. It wasn't perfect, and it wasn't always easy to explain, But it was real. In many ways, those difficult seasons became the foundation of a quieter strength, one that didn't need to prove itself, but simply remained. And perhaps that's where true leadership is formed, not in moments of success, but in the willingness to stay, to grow, and to keep going when everything feels uncertain. So, what could make him shift from certainty to questioning his own understanding of faith? Keep watching for more details. A shift toward humility and a new understanding of faith. As the years passed, something began to change in the way John Hagee expressed his beliefs. The man who had once been known for speaking with strong certainty slowly began to show a different side of himself. This change did not happen all at once. It came quietly, over time, shaped by years of experience, pressure, and personal reflection. At one point, during a church service, this change became very clear. Instead of speaking with his usual bold tone, he spoke in a softer and more thoughtful way.
The people who are trying to escape the real world. The rapture is no more escapism from the world than salvation is escapism from eternal hell.
He admitted something that many people did not expect to hear from him. He said that even after spending so many years studying the Bible, there were still things he did not fully understand. This was a very different message from what people were used to hearing. For a long time, he had tried to explain everything. He had tried to give clear answers to difficult questions. But now he was saying something new. He was saying that not everything can be explained. He was saying that some parts of faith are meant to remain a mystery. This idea surprised many people. It made some feel closer to him, but it also made others feel unsure. This moment marked a turning point. It showed that his understanding of faith was changing. He began to focus less on having all the answers and more on trusting the process. He explained that faith is not always about knowing. Sometimes it is about believing even when you do not fully understand. This was a simple idea, but it carried deep meaning. As he continued to speak this way, people began to react in different ways. Some people felt comforted. They felt that his honesty made him more real. They saw that even a strong leader could have questions. This made them feel less alone in their own struggles. It gave them permission to admit their own doubts. But not everyone felt the same. Some people felt uneasy. They had relied on him for clear direction. They had trusted his strong voice. Now, hearing him speak about uncertainty made them feel less secure. It was not easy for them to adjust to this new way of thinking. Even so, many scholars and religious thinkers saw this change as something important. They believed it showed growth. They believed it showed maturity. Instead of holding on to fixed ideas, he was now open to deeper understanding. He was no longer trying to control every answer. Instead, he was allowing space for questions. This new way of thinking also connected strongly with younger believers. Many of them already felt that faith should allow room for questions. They did not want a system that forced simple answers to complex issues. So when they heard this message, it felt more honest and more real to them. At the center of this shift was a simple but powerful message. Faith is not about knowing everything. It is about trust. It is about humility. It is about accepting that there are things beyond human understanding. This idea changed the way many people saw him. It also began to change how his legacy might be remembered. For many years, he was known as a man of certainty, a man who spoke with confidence and authority. But now, he was becoming something more. He was becoming a man who showed that it is okay to grow. It is okay to question. It is okay to change. This transformation did not weaken his influence. Instead, it added a new layer to it. It showed that strength does not always come from having all the answers. Sometimes, it comes from being honest about what you do not know. In the end, this shift became one of his most important messages. It showed that faith is not a fixed point. It is a journey that includes doubt, learning, and change. And through this journey, belief becomes something deeper, something more personal, and something more real. Because when faith moves beyond certainty, it becomes something that can actually hold weight in real life. It's no longer just about words spoken in moments of strength, but about what remains in moments of struggle. That kind of faith doesn't break easily because it has already been tested. And for those watching, that shift matters. It gives people permission to be human, to not have everything figured out, to continue walking forward even when the path is unclear. And maybe that's the most powerful legacy of all. Not perfection, but honesty. Could the very challenges and bold choices that defined John Hagee's public life also be revealing a side of him few have ever seen? Stay tuned for more. Controversy, calling, and a life re-examined. John Hagee has, for many years, been a public figure who gets both strong support and strong criticism at the same time. Many people have talked about how he lives, especially claims that he lived a very comfortable and rich life. This made some people question if his life really matched the simple values he preached. Others looked at his close links with political leaders and his role in national matters, which often put him in the middle of serious public talks. One big moment came when John McCain refused his support after old comments caused anger. This showed clearly how his words could go beyond the church and affect politics in a real way. His personal life also became public talk, especially when his marriage ended in divorce in the 70s. In many strict church groups, divorce was strongly judged, and this made people question his place as a leader. Some people wondered if he could still guide others in faith. At the same time, his teachings about prophecy, including the 4 blood moons idea, got a lot of attention. Many followers believed these messages were true and inspired, but others felt they went too far and caused confusion. Critics said he mixed faith with guesswork, which made it hard for some people to accept his message. Years later, something important changed in how he spoke to the public. At the age of 84, he openly said he had made mistakes, had regrets, and had times of doubt in his life. This was a big change for a man who had spent many years speaking with strong confidence. Instead of acting like he always had the right answers, he showed a more honest and calm side. Many people saw this as a moment where he faced the truth about his life. He spoke about struggles he had kept hidden for a long time. This changed how people saw him, and he seemed more real and more open. To understand this change, it helps to look at his early life. He was born into a very religious home, where faith was a big part of daily life. His father was a pastor, so a lot was expected from him as a child. He was raised to follow strict rules and live by the Bible. As a teenager, he started preaching in small churches, and people quickly noticed his strong voice and bold way of speaking. These early moments helped shape his life and his sense of purpose. Later, he went to Trinity University, where he kept learning and preparing for ministry work. A major change in his life came in 1975 when he started Cornerstone Church. It began as a small group, but slowly grew into a large church. His way of preaching was strong and direct, and more people started coming. As the church grew, his influence also grew beyond his area. Through TV programs, his sermons reached people across the country and even in other parts of the world. This made him well known, not only in church, but also in public talks about society and culture. One strong part of his message was his support for Israel. For him, this was not just about politics, but also about his faith. He often spoke about a moment in Jerusalem where he felt called to stand with Israel. This belief became a big part of his work and guided many of his actions. And his followers saw this as a sign of strong faith. But critics felt it brought religion too close to politics. They worried about how it could affect wider issues. Aside from preaching, his work also included helping people through his ministry. They worked on building schools, giving clean water, and helping during disasters. They also sent support to places in Africa and Latin America, giving medical help and basic needs. This showed another side of his work, one that focused on helping people in real ways. Even though he got praise for this, he did not focus on awards. He cared more about helping people and making a real difference. In the end, his story shows success, problems, growth, and change. His choice later in life to admit mistakes and talk about doubt adds more meaning to his story today, because it reframes everything that came before it. The growth of the church, the influence, the global reach, it all begins to look less like a straight path of success and more like a layered journey shaped by both conviction and correction. And for many people, that honesty makes his message more relatable than ever. It reminds them that leadership is not about being flawless, it's about being willing to reflect, to adjust, and to keep moving forward. And in a world that often demands certainty, that kind of openness can be far more powerful than any sermon. Because people are no longer just looking for leaders who speak with authority, they're looking for leaders who understand struggle. Leaders who don't pretend to have every answer, but who are willing to walk through uncertainty alongside them. That shift changes everything. It turns influence into connection. And connection in today's world is what lasts. In the end, it may not be his achievements that define him most, but his willingness to evolve. To admit that faith is not static, and that growth, even late in life, is not weakness, but proof that the journey is still unfolding. How has John Hagee managed faith, family, and guiding the next generation? Stay tuned for more. Faith, Family, and the Future. John Hagee's Mission Beyond the Pulpit. Pastor John Hagee has been a well-known figure in evangelical Christianity for many years. One of the most important parts of his work is his strong support for Israel. Hagee has always said that standing with Israel is not just about politics or personal opinion, but about following God's will. In 2006, he started an organization called Christians United for Israel, often called CUFI. This group has grown to be one of the biggest pro-Israel organizations in the world, with more than 10 million members. Hagee has said that Israel is very important because what happens there can affect the whole world. He believes Christians have a responsibility to help and support Israel because God commands it. Over the years, some people have praised him for being like a modern prophet, someone helping to fulfill what the Bible talks about regarding Israel. Others, however, have criticized him, saying he mixes religion and politics too much. Despite the criticism, Hagee has stayed firm in his beliefs. He has been involved in political events, including supporting candidates like John McCain in 2008 and Donald Trump in 2016. Hagee explains that he does this not to play politics, but because he believes these actions align with his religious convictions and with the helping Israel. He has always made it clear that his support for Israel comes from faith, personal experience, and a sense of spiritual calling. Hagee's influence is not only seen in his political or religious work, but also in his family life. He has always spoken about how important his family is to his ministry and to him personally. His son, Matthew Hagee, now serves as a senior pastor at Cornerstone Church, continuing the family's work in ministry. His daughter, Tish Hagee Tucker, has become an author and speaker, sharing her own messages and inspiring people with her work. Hagee has said many times that he is proud of all his children because each of them has found their own way to serve others and make a difference. He emphasizes that they are not just copying him but creating their own paths and following their own callings. Hagee has admitted that being so involved in his global ministry sometimes meant he could not always spend enough time with his family, and he regrets those moments. Despite this, he has tried to guide his children, supporting them as they grew into their roles and responsibilities. He believes that seeing his children succeed in their own ways is one of the most important parts of his life and ministry. Hagee also stresses that raising his family while running a worldwide ministry has taught him about balance, responsibility, and the importance of nurturing the next generation, both in his family and in the church. Looking ahead, Hagee continues to work actively to grow his ministry and reach more people. Even at 85 years old, he has not slowed down. He understands that the world is changing, and he wants his ministry to reach younger audiences through modern technology. He has started using social media, live streaming, and podcasts to share his messages. Hagee believes that using these tools will help him reach more people around the world, including those who might not attend church in person. He also focuses on preparing the next generation of leaders. Through the Hagee Ministries Leadership Academy, he mentors young pastors, giving them guidance, teaching them, and providing resources so they can grow in their work. His goal is to prepare at least 100 new leaders who can continue spreading the message of faith in the future. Hagee says that training young pastors is very important because the future of the church depends on well-prepared leaders. He believes that even though he has had a long ministry, it is necessary to pass on knowledge, experience, and responsibility to others. For Hagee, the combination of technology and mentoring is a way to ensure that his work will continue long after he is no longer able to lead personally. He remains determined to keep preaching, teaching, and supporting Israel while helping to raise the next generation of leaders who share his vision. And in many ways, that may become his most lasting impact. Because movements don't survive on one voice alone. They continue through those who are trained, shaped, and sent out to carry the message forward. By focusing on mentorship and modern platforms, Hagee is not just preserving his influence, he is multiplying it. But the real test will come with time. How these new leaders adapt, how they respond to a changing world, and how they carry both conviction and compassion will ultimately define what his legacy becomes in the years ahead. What do you think about the evangelism of Pastor John Hagee? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you for watching as we explored the life and revelations of Pastor John Hagee, from his personal struggles and unwavering faith to his global ministry and work with the next generation of leaders. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the next video on your screen to uncover more stories. See you there.